Hey everybody, this is David from Shine On Studios in Oakland, California, and tonight I'm going to give you some more advice on mixing your vocals. I have a session here from the new position with the elegant vocals of Modest Goddess. I've already done some mixing on this and some automation, which I'll run you through real quick, and then I'm going to add a few extra pieces here to spice it up and make the vocals sit just a little bit better into the mix. I'm going to be using my AVID Euphonics Artist Control Artist Mix Series console here to do some automation. And then finally, I'm going to show you how to do a few little cleanup details and chop up some of the vocals so that you get some really nice clean takes. And let's get started. Okay, so what we have here are a few vocal tracks, main vocal with some effects and some backing vocals, which are shown right here. I'll show you. So this is the main vocal track right here. And all these tracks here are the effects and the backing vocals. So these are the tracks we're going to focus on for right now. Let me play a little bit of it for you so that you can hear what we're working with. Okay, so you get an idea of what we're working with here. She's got a very unique style of singing, and I really like working with vocalists that are more creative with the way that they sing. She did some backing vocals, and certain parts she sings just the first part of the line, and then the second part she sings the second part of the line. Did it on different takes. We panned them out, so it kind of gives this very unique spread across the stereo spectrum, which I think is more unique. Not a lot of artists are doing that right now, so she's definitely ahead of her time, or at least thinking outside of the box as far as trying to compose her songs. I love her lyrics. Very, very poetic and philosophical. But let's get to the meat of what we're looking at right here. So you can see a little bit of automation right here on this delay send that I'm using, and I believe this is the eighth note or the quarter note delays. Let's check. I've got two delays here. So delay 2 is this H delay, and that's the eighth notes. And then delay 1 is the quarter notes. So that's the one that we're automating on and off here at the end of the lines. If you want to hear, I'll play it again. Just check right here, the end of this line. Listen to how at the gap right here, the space where the music pauses and everything, her vocals actually carry through because of the delay. So she says, forget the troubles of the light, and the light goes la-hey, and it just carries on. So that's a unique way of making your vocals bridge a space or a gap. You just automate the mute or the send. So what I've got is the sends right here. I'm just automating the mute right here. So watch this, will just kick off right when it hits that part at the end of the line. And then it kicks back on, so we don't get the rest of the lines. We just want that one word to trail off a little bit more. Now, another feature that I'm doing is adding some distortion. This one comes with Pro Tools. This is the SansAmp PSA. So using something like this, a distortion plugin, it can be any plugin. I'm just using this one because it comes with Pro Tools. But what you want to do is just add a little bit of grit to vocals. So let me solo these two tracks up right here. So this one's solo safed, so it's going to play right now just as if I solo the main vocal. And I'm going to mute the other effects here so you don't hear those.
Forget the troubles of the light.
Let me play that line for you with the effect muted now.
Forget the troubles of the light.
So it is adding a lot of presence and a lot of punch to her enunciation. Let me play it again for you with the effect.
Forget the troubles of the light.
So by doing that and putting that in the mix, let's just put just that effect in the mix now. Really makes her rise above the music and put her in a pocket that's just right with the mix. The guitars kind of wrap around her and the drums are really punchy too. I'm not done mixing this track completely, but I've got a really good solid foundation just with this one plugin. Let's throw in here the delays and the reverb so you can hear it all in context. I really like the way that that works and the way that it sounds. So that's an easy thing to do, is just throw on an auxiliary track and add a distortion plugin. Now I want to add a little bit more presence to her vocal. So I've done this in another video. I'm going to show you how to do it. I'm going to add a new track here from my Sens, and I'm going to call this the Warm. I really like this plugin from Antares. And let's make sure that this goes out stem 8 with the effects. And it's a multi-mono plug. The other, and here's the Brainworx WARM. And I'm going to pull this back. This tends to juice it just a little bit. Add a little bit of crunch. And pull this down just so the input's not too hot. Let's see what this does. I'm going to solo safe it. Perfect. Really like the way that that sounds. Let me bypass it here. See how she's just behind everything? I want to pull her just in front of everything. So now she's really audible, and she's right in front of the music, and the effects are kind of creating this bed behind her that makes her vocals sit in the pocket a little bit better. So I'm going to move this over here, and I'm going to color it up the same as the other tracks. And now we have that. I'm also going to add one more effect. And the effect I'm going to add here is something that I haven't done before, at least I don't think I have. I'm going to show you how to add a little bit of width to a vocal track. So I'm going to call this the wide. And again, I'm going to put this over on stem 8 with my effects. And we're going to bring in something here from the sound field. This is the S1 Imager. Some of you've probably seen this before. It gives you control over the width of whatever is being sent to the plugin. So, and you can also monitor the meter in stereo left-right or mono stereo. So for this one, I'm just going to leave it in left-right. And let's listen to what it does just with this setting. Boosted it just a touch over 1, so it's at 1.66. Forget the troubles of the light. Let's check it without it. Let's mute this. Forget the troubles of the light. So if you're listening with headphones or a good pair of speakers, you can hear that it just pushed her vocal out to the sides a little bit more. Let's listen to it with it again. Forget the troubles of the light. Nice. I like the way that worked. Now this, I'm going to do a little bit of EQ. I'm actually going to flip-flop them here. I'm going to move the S1 down. I'm going to move the EQ up. And on this, I am going to roll off the lows. Let's take off everything up to about 350. There we go. I don't want any of her low end. I know she doesn't have a lot of low end down there, but anything that is there, I don't want it in the stereo field. I just want the highs in the stereo field, or the wide sides. Forget the troubles of the light. Yeah, that's much cleaner to my ear. I like the way that her vocal sits now. Now we have Nice wide vocals. We have some distortion, a little bit of clarity and boost with the tube effect, some delays, and I have this IK Multimedia Classic Hall reverb. And I'm going to do one more thing to this vocal, and I've already done it here, is add a little bit of delay. And by adding a little bit of delay, you make the vocal seem like it's in a different space. And there's an effect you can use called the Haas effect, which if you keep the delay under about 50 milliseconds, the ear perceives the delay as one sound, meaning that your ear can't really differentiate between the original and the delay. It kind of blends them together, making them seem like one entity or one sound within the mix. And you can see here that I've only allowed 30% of this delay to affect the main track. And I've actually got it on the vocal track. So let me solo this up real quick, and I'm going to mute out all our effects so you can hear exactly what I'm talking about.
Forget the troubles of the light.
So it kind of gives her this almost semi-robotic sound when you listen to it soloed. Let me bypass it real quick so you can hear just her vocal.
Forget the troubles of the light.
And then I'll put it back on.
Forget the troubles of the light.
Let's throw it in the mix real quick.
Forget the troubles of the light.
It just makes vocals, especially in rock music like this, find a pocket in the mix and glue them into the sound. And let's option out here all the mutes and listen to all the effects, including this Haas effect delay on the vocal.
Forget the troubles of the light.
It just works. I don't know what to say. I've been doing this long enough and worked with enough musicians and engineers over the years to find out what does and what doesn't work. And for vocals, this technique works really well. You can see that some of my backing vocals are just slightly panned off left and right. And then I've got some backing vocals still straight up the middle. Now you want to kind of play around a little bit and find how you can get good spatial effects with your backing vocals. But if you listen to these backing vocals right here, especially on the chorus, let me bring up my chorus memory location.
Disturb me now, let me rest. That turns around, forget the best.
So you can hear just a little bit of ping-ponging around in the back. I think what I'll probably wind up doing is also send these over to the WARM plugin and maybe control how much they send over to that plugin. Let's see here. So this controls the input into your plugin, and then the actual fader on the track controls the output of the overall signal. So if you got a couple of tracks and you want to control, like this track right here is the main vocal, and these two over here are the backing vocals. I want the main vocal to pretty much be the full send, everything going to it, regardless. So you leave that at 0. Maybe I won't want these backing vocals to have such a big presence on that track. So I'm going to pull these down, let's say about roughly 7 dB. 6.8 here is fine. Let's listen to this mix now.
Disturb me now, let me rest. That turns around, forget the best.
A little too much. I'm probably going to pull them down a little bit more, but you get the idea here. I'm going to pull these down maybe another 3 dB or so.
Disturb me now, let me rest. That turns around, forget the best.
That's better. Needs a little bit more work, but you get the idea. So all in all, this is really just a basic approach to mixing rock vocals, adding some effects, using the sends to get the effects, and then blending the sends in. You can see here the distortion I've got down about 10 dB. The other effects I've got flatlined pretty much at unity across the board. Now as I go down, I might add another reverb or another delay. I'm not quite sure. Let me see here. Let's just play around a little bit with another reverb. So I'm going to call this V2 for verb 2. And we'll send this out the same stem, number 8. And let's grab another reverb here, something that could be a little bit more interesting. Let's try the Oxford reverb. This is a great reverb. A lot of parameters to play with, a lot of things to adjust. Let's check out some of their defaults. And they've got chambers, churches, effects, halls, post rooms. Let's go right to vocal. And let's just, sure, large vocal. Let's try this one. Now you can change the reflections, and you can also play with your equalizers. Plugin has a really nice 5-band EQ that you can do a few things with. One of them is filter out different things. So if you want to roll off a little bit of the low end here, you can put on a high pass filter and vice versa, low pass filter over here. Sometimes I like to just do this so that I get darker reverb tails. So let's leave the low end here in, and I'm just actually going to pull it down just a touch, a couple of dB there, and let's roll off closer to 70. There we go. And then usually there's some boxiness around 300 to 400. Let's just type it in right here. I'm going to type in 330. And let's scoop that out just a touch. Maybe 3 to 4 dB. There we go. Let's listen to how this sounds.
Disturb me now, let me rest. That turns around, forget the rest.
It's big. It really sounds big now with a lot of reverb. It might be a little bit too much for this effect in this song. So I can pull it down a little bit in the mix. Let's listen to it now around 6 dB down.
Disturb me now, let me rest. That turns around, forget the rest.
Might be pushing her vocal out a little bit too much in front. I'm not quite sure, but just wanted to give you guys a few extra ideas. It's not a bad idea to have a few effects and a few reverbs. Even if you want to pull this down more or maybe automate the fader up and down, why don't we do that? Let's actually put this in touch mode. Let's go back over. And here's V2. Here's the volume. And what I'm going to do is automate it just so that the reverb really comes in on the chorus here. So let's start with the fader all the way down. All right, now I got my fader on my console here. And what I'm going to do is ride the fader so that it brings in the effect just a little bit on certain phrases here in the chorus, just on the chorus. I'm going to rewind, give myself a little bit of lead in, and let's see what this does.
Let myself lose the fight. Disturb me now, let me rest. That turns around, forget the rest.
So that gives you an idea what you can do, just adding a little bit of texture, a little bit more space to your vocals, and it's just different than using a mouse and writing automation. The mouse is not the same. Being able to actually feel a fader and write it back and forth and hear your adjustments in real time, it makes a difference with your mixing. So this is David at Shine On Studio in Oakland, California. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and you got some ideas for mixing your vocals out of this video. If you have any questions or you want me to cover anything that I didn't cover in this video, just leave a comment below or message me directly. We're at shineonstudio.com, shineonstudios.com. Thanks for watching. Happy mixing.